Sign the minutes of the previous meeting, November the 3rd. If you have had a chance to review those minutes, what is your pleasure?
I make a motion to accept them as written.
Motion to accept as written. Second. Second. Any additions or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor signify by raised hand. Second thing on the agenda is a motion to allow or disallow the sign variance that we heard about earlier, and in that motion to either state a fee or what is your pleasure as to the fee. Do I hear a motion for or against?
I make a motion for accepting the variance and to make the fee something a little more reasonable, which I think say $350.
That's your motion?
I don't know.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Further? Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor of the motion as stated, please signify by raised hand. The second part of business is the authorization to borrow the funds. We have discussed it. Is there a motion either for or against?
I make a motion that we borrow the funds, continue.
Motion for, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by raised hand. At the second reading of the Building Code Amendment, first off, we need a motion to accept or decline the second reading. Is there a motion one way or the other?
I make a motion that we accept second reading.
Motion to accept second reading. Is there a second?
Yeah, second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the acceptance of the second reading, please signify by raised hand.
Abstain.
You abstain, and you state, if you would, the reason for the abstaining.
Well, it directly affects family members.
Okay, the motion at that point dies for lack of a second. This time we will entertain comments from the public. If you would, please stand up and quote, state your name, and try to limit your comments to 3 minutes, please. We'll start over here if we're good, please.
I don't have any.
Ted? Sir? Sir?
You talking to me?
Anything else?
I would like to ask you about the park.
wait.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Wallace?
Oh, we're in good shape, thanks.
Holly?
I wanted to ask you about the park. You said it was going to be fall, and we're right at the end of fall going into winter. Is there a more definite date about the park beginning? Still not a date?
No. We have to go through the process whether we like it or not. If it's up to us, we go ahead and start tomorrow.
Yeah.
We've got to go through the process, the engineering process. If we're going to get any money from the county, we've got to do it the way they want it done. Believe me, I called them twice last week and again, twice last week, not anything this week, trying to rush them up, and they said they should have everything back by first part of this week. So I hope so.
And thank you for the signs. And can we have 2 more?
We're working on it.
Can we have one at the end of Tarrentine?
Would really be nice to have one at Tarrentine where the merchants, where you come in that street there.
Well, that's going to be up to the merchants to redo that sign.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mr. Bridges?
Yes, I got it. You know, just for the public's knowledge, you know, I've been dealing with the city on no bathrooms in these buildings for quite some time. It's not an issue of whether we want to put in the bathrooms or not, or willing to put the bathrooms in. We are definitely willing, as the Bridges family has let me work on this on the family's behalf. But there's an issue with the city and their ordinance that they put into place to prohibit us from using those buildings as they were built. They're 100-year-old buildings. They didn't have bathrooms to start. You know, I'm sorry, but they were within code and regulation at the time they were built. They've been used all this time without that. And there's grandfathering, there's different kind of things that you can look at within the code. But the council and the mayor failed to address those issues or acknowledge those issues. As you kind of see, they don't acknowledge questions or direct questions. There's no rationale for what they're doing, but basically in the codes it allows for historic buildings. The Georgia Code, the International Building Code states that you don't have to follow the code to the nth degree, because if it's technically infeasible, or if you don't have the means to do so within that property, if you're going to totally destroy the historic nature of it, then there are provisions. All right, the council, you know, does not acknowledge those provisions or tend to ignore them, which they well can legally, with Georgia being a home rule state, and I certainly understand that, but it's not for the economic good of the town, so I don't understand that rationale. But in going through their processes, I have gone through an appeal process and gotten it approved to use one of the buildings, okay? And what they're doing now is they're taking that one provision of historic building being a loophole, if you will, is what they would consider it. I see it just a way within the codes that allows you to do this. We're not the only town with this problem. But they are now closing that loophole by putting in an ordinance or adding a statement to the ordinance saying that historic properties, whether they're historic or not, you still have to go back to the code, to the letter of the law, as if it were new construction. And so that's my issue that I'm trying to get resolved and really get to nowhere. But I think it's a tragedy that the town looks like this, and it's because of these members right here, because I provided a way and they asked for that way. Clay, do you remember that? When do you remember that? Find a way, Joe, find a way. And that's what I've done. And now you're going back with no good reason, at least no good reason that you're willing to state in front of these fine people and me. I don't understand why you would take this town and just totally just take the economic value out of it. I really don't understand that. And this is public comment, and my 3 minutes are up, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bridges. Council, anything? I did have one citizen come in this morning and had a complaint about the fence in the street back of your house. And I think you might have talked to the lady at one point. And so let's you and I get together and see what we can do about that problem. And as someone mentioned, if you hadn't seen the signs, go by and look at them. The only one that we've got that's still not up is a smaller sign that goes on the north side coming in at the city limits on 54 from the north side. It'll be our logo and very small, about this big, not the big 8-foot sign that we have at the other locations, because there's not room for it out there on the north side. That's all I have to come before council tonight, and a motion to adjourn would be in order.
Make a motion.
Motion so moved.